I shall write again with love.
I hope many of you have.
Sorry,
We weren't here that afternoon.
big excuses.
Right?
This is one of a series of five letters, not yet all completed. I have rather tried to take some of our major concepts and explain what I think of them. And I thought on this I would take what I think is the third letter, in which I discuss what I hope I know about the beginning of our universe. I've written to my dear great-great-grandchild, whom I calculate should be around about 50 by the end of next century. In this third letter, I would like to take up the topic of the starting point, or the beginning of the universe. First, especially this assumption itself. Does or did the universe have a starting point? This may seem a nonsensical question, but I'm not at all sure. Nor can any of us be sure that it did. There is at least another possibility. The concepts of starting and stopping, of beginning and ending, are clearly drawn from our experience, that is, from the information available to us ultimately from our senses. But these have evolved in and to deal with our physical world out there. Our eyes and ears and other senses operate within space-time, which are the dimensions of this universe. However, if there is any consensus among mystics, it is that space and time are illusions and simply do not exist in the or a greater reality, where everything occurs in what William James, I think, called the specious present. It's not usually made specific, but there will also be some equivalence to this in regard to space. Everything must occur and be occurring not only in the specious present, but in the equivalent, the specious here of space. However difficult it may be for us, much less to imagine, however difficult it may be for us to imagine, much less to accept all things being present and all events, including our own lives, occurring in this great specious here and now, this, or some version, perhaps indeed probably very much more complex, will be the situation in this greater reality. And since in such reality there is no time and no space, there will my corrections are a little smaller. There will hence also be, and in such reality, there is no time and no space, and there will hence also be no beginnings and no endings. Our physical universe then appears to be an extrusion or a manifesting of this greater reality into and within a space-time mold or framework, giving a sort of simpler version, which is all that our senses and subsequently and consequently the specific developments of our brains and understanding can cope with. But with this framing within the limits of our understanding comes a simplifying and a distortion of that greater reality. And from this comes our assumption that there was a beginning and an ending. Our universe, I think, simply is, and has always been, is, if I can stretch the language a little. Our question then of the starting point of our universe is vacuous. There is none. And in my next letter, I shall take up another question.
Sitting over there, I was wondering whether I should come up here to speak the things I write here. But then, having listened to so many good letters, I thought I would share with you this letter I wrote this morning. And I can sense that mine is highly clinical. And I'm glad I learned from you guys how to write things with the heart. Anyway, this is how it goes. My dear unknown friend, this will come as a surprise to you. A letter from someone who lived 100 years ago. Well, I need to do a piece of homework for a seminar that I'm attending at the Theosophy Society in Auckland, New Zealand. And the objective of the homework is to share with you something about certain core teachings of the society so that you will be able to know about the situation currently in this century, and you can then make a comparison to your situation in your century. Interesting, isn't it? Well, one of the core concerns of the Theosophy Society is to promote understanding and brotherhood among people of all races, nationalities, philosophies, and religions. I will try my best to share with you what is happening in this century as far as this issue is concerned. First and foremost, please understand that I'm a new member of the society and have very little knowledge of Theosophy. I'm not a New Zealander, too. In fact, I am from Singapore, currently on a short stay in Auckland. Secondly, I will share the issue of promoting understanding and brotherhood among people, which I term as brotherhood of men, on a worldwide, national, and individual levels. So what is the status about this brotherhood of men on a worldwide basis? Well, sad to say, we already have 2 world wars, plus numerous other local wars. So to ensure that there will be no more occurrence will not be any occurrence of future wars, we have such worldwide bodies like United Nations, NATO, which is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, European Union, APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation for Economic Growth, and ASEAN, which is closer to my home, so that men can live happily and peacefully together. Despite efforts of these organizations, I must say the world is still in a mess. In fact, at this moment, some countries are at war. Imagine ethnic cleansing in our age of information technology. So I am sad to tell you that whether it is for economic, philosophical, racial, or religious reasons, the world still has lots to learn from the Theosophy Society. I hope while reading this letter, your world is a much more loving, peaceful, and trusting one. So what about the level of understanding or brotherhood of men in Singapore, where I was born and raised, or New Zealand, where I am now? Singapore is a small city-state. That is, it's a city, and being so small is also called a country. It is a multiracial country, and the government leaders tried their best to maintain racial harmony in the country. Singapore, for your information, is a very successful country, economically at least. For example, we have US $23,000 per capita. Each person in Singapore earns about 23,000 US per capita in Singapore versus 13,000 in New Zealand. It It is a society based on merit, not on racial lines. Hence, though one can belong to a minority, yet he or she can be the head of an organization if he or she is good, which is a fact in Singapore. I mean, I've seen it myself. I must say, on a superficial level, there is racial harmony in my country, and the practice of brotherhood is experienced. I have not been in New Zealand for a long time to assess New Zealanders' tolerance of other races. But on religious tolerance, I can see that it is indeed a gracious society. All I can say is that having lived in Canada and making many trips to USA, Europe, and Australia, all I can say is that we all have much to learn about brotherhood of men. Now, on a personal level, I'm very blessed. I must say, in my lifetime, that is, at this point of writing, the only encounter of not being treated with understanding and respect was in Australia, once, years ago. In New Zealand, I must say, I do feel the warmth, though at times, I do feel some of the New Zealanders, without traveling outside of New Zealand, do look upon me suspiciously or patronizingly. No offense, please. But generally,
Very suspiciously.
but generally, I think New Zealand is a gracious society, and I do enjoy the friendship around. Maybe it is a result of the TS. Maybe, I don't know. So, my dear friend, this is a microscopic sharing of my views regarding one of the key concerns of the Theosophy Society. You will come to realize that in this century, we have yet to learn to relate to each other with love and understanding. I hope at this point of time, when you're reading this, your world is a better world indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Are you going back to Singapore?
Yes.
There's a wonderful
Few
lodge.
few months' time.
There's a wonderful lodge there in Singapore.
Oh, I must. Okay, I'll talk to you
I
later.
don't have the address in my mind, but you must go and see them. I have a lot of good friends there. And I may be stopping in Singapore next year, so we'll meet up again. Thank you. It's a wonderful city, such a clean city. And it has the best airport in the world. It really does. It's a marvelous airport. Evan?
No, I'm just preparing for the end.
I'm sure that there are other letters that you've been written and that we haven't heard from.
Come on, no shrinking violets.
But
Tarleton?
I hope.
Tarleton. Tarleton's always very quiet, please. And you'll have to speak up. And give me a hug on the way. I had to train her up. She wasn't keen on hugging until I trained her up.
Well, this is very brief. I read it by Erica last night. She groaned and pulled the blankets up over her head. So I'm not sure that my friend in 100 years hence will be interested at all. Dear friend, how can I convey to you that which you cannot find in books? The ecstasy of flight my spirit takes in the touch of a hand, the scents and sounds of spring,
said was the launching of a new age in a sense. Albert Einstein wrote a letter in which he said, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything except our ways of thinking." Then he continued, "We shall require a substantially new manner of thinking if mankind is to survive." Now, have we come to that new way of thinking? This is why I've proposed in this particular seminar to look at the modes of thinking. Are we thinking in the old ways? I suggest that the Theosophical Society was born in the last century in order to begin a process which is still continuing. It was really an experiment, if you read the history. And it was the first experiment to make public, make available widely truths and principles and fundamentals that until then had been available only through the mystery schools, the ashrams, these special places where individuals were tested and tried, put on probation, as it were, for a manner of living. Now it has been public for over 100 years. What have we done with it? The work of the society, I think, will go on. It's essential work to transform the world from within, to initiate that new manner of thinking. And are we really then living in accordance with that new manner? I think the genuine knowing that must come about occurs because each one of us is willing to expand the boundaries of our present knowledge, to embrace the universe in oneness. An expanding mind is the truly theosophical mind. As I've attempted to point out, the very word theosophy refers to a kind of knowing that grows from within. And so we can begin by asking ourselves various questions. What are the boundaries of our knowing? How do we define ourselves? Is transformation a goal, or is it a process that is constantly taking place? I think there are no final or easy answers. Part of our work is to learn to live with questions and paradoxes. That we seek answers without even knowing the questions. We have to look at our work, in our lodges, in ourselves. A new mode of thinking that is now required demands of us the ability to live with questions, the ability to live with paradox. We're on a journey to restore, if we can put it that way, the original face of humankind. There have been crises that have disfigured the face of humanity, to put it metaphorically. But now, I think we are involved in that kind of journey that enables us to restore the demand within every individual for the coming to birth of a new being. Can we be present at the birthing of a new being in ourselves, therefore a new being in the world, a new universe? I think we have to believe in what I call the passion for the possible. That it really is possible to bring to birth something completely new. In the terms of this metaphor that I use again and again of a journey, there are two constants that are said in the mythology of all humankind. The first constant is that we are involved in the walkabouts in the world, and our walkabouts change the very structure of the journey itself, our own potential for transformation, the restructuring of consciousness, which can bring to birth the new. And for that to happen, we have to be willing to die to that which has been. We have to be willing to undergo the death of our very selves, or at least cease being sleepwalkers in the world, moving about in a comatose state, and come away and open our eyes to what is possible. An awakening that is both radical and wrenching. A new birth, which is a sudden outflow of inner energy, of freedom, in which there is the sense of things never being the same again. I think out of our passion for the possible, with faith and courage, we move on our journey in a constantly transformed and transforming condition. But the other constant is that we have choice. This is our great human gift. A choice of the direction that we will take. And I think what you have expressed in your letters, and those of you who have shared your letters, and those who haven't yet, perhaps someday we'll make up a series of letters, maybe even get it published. I shouldn't say, but it might be publishable. But why not? Write your letters to the future. Visualize, imagine the future. You have that choice. We may be looking for the unique person who will embody the creative or transformative process. But each of us is that unique person. Each of us has the power to visualize the future, to live in the future, not just to live in the past, to live in the future. For I think transformation is a process, not a goal. That when we turn ourselves to the future, to what we are, to the passion for the possible, then there is an awakening, a regeneration, a transformation. And all of life then becomes the recovery of that original self, which is really the one self in all existence. And we will know